Hey everyone, Crickcaster here, and today there's a new urgent quest for PSO2 New Genesis, and this is the Kvaris Mining Rig. I know a lot of you don't like these mining rigs, but I feel like there's some things added to this that'll make it a little bit better than the previous ones. Basically, we're just going to do an overview of this quest, talk about the new things, and also what rewards you can get at the end. First off though, let's talk about the requirements for this. So for the battle power, you need at least 2,647. And then the enemies in this quest are level 60, so you want to be around there, like around 56 plus. And then also, as you can see in this same menu, we'll be getting some Vardias Soul 3s, which is new souls from the Vardias boss. More on that at the end when we talk about the rewards, but let's get into the quest. With this being a mining rig, you might already know what to expect, but for new players, basically, enemies attack in different waves, and your goal is to work with other players to defend these 3 mining rigs until the final 6 wave. Then, along with these enemies, you collect points from these collect assigns or blue sigils, and then you use these points on delivery devices or on the mining rigs themselves for different abilities. You don't actually consume these points though, you more gain uses at certain point thresholds. And then also with these uses, they're separated by each player, so you don't have to worry about using up somebody else's charges. But speaking of these, there is a new ability for the Kvaris Mining Rig, which is the floating boards. So unlike in the open world where you can use it unlimited amount of times, you actually need to reach these point thresholds to get more floating boards. So with these floating boards, I find them most useful for collecting even more points or running over the smaller enemies. But even though they are limited here, I wouldn't worry about running out because they give you plenty of uses for this board. Moving on from these though, the dolls kind of have abilities of their own, or these dolls weapons. So there's back hacks, which can be planted on the mining rigs, and there's towers that can beam from afar, and there's also the barrigales, which are huge walls. So a new thing with the barrigales this time around though is that it makes like a cross section right in the middle of all the mining rigs. So if you're not spread out enough, then you won't even be able to break these walls. You could actually lose a couple mining rigs this way. So as I always say with these quests, make sure to spread out about 2 people per mining rig, and then the other 2 people kind of float around killing bosses or helping out where needed. But now let's move on to the enemies of this quest. So with this, there's a whole bunch of Kvaris ones in here, but thankfully there is no equalizer enemies like there was in the Retem mining rig, but there are some new enemies which can prove quite difficult if left alive or left unchecked. So first off, we have what is called bits, which kind of look like drill bits is what I imagine the name comes from, but they go up to the mining rigs and they kind of blast their way and drill into the mining rigs, doing quite a bit of damage if you just let them live, but they are relatively easy to kill. And then there's also another new small enemy called a Remotus. So these guys kind of hang into the middle of the map or kind of on the outskirts, and they are essentially like remote artillery where they shoot blasts that kind of float towards the mining rigs. And if those hit, they actually do quite a bit of damage. Thankfully, though, you can shoot these missiles while they are in mid-air, and you can just go up to the Remotus and kind of distract them and kill them. And then for the last one, we have the final boss called Vardias. This is the giant dragon that floats around going into the different mining rigs and using its sword slash giant bat to smash into them. Basically, what you want to do for this boss is to try to distract it with either 1 or 2 people and then hit its sword, which is actually a thing that you can break and stun it. You can also stun it just normally with elemental fire or just physical by attacking it. Personally, though, I love the aesthetic of this boss, but I felt like it was quite easy in comparison to what I thought it was going to be. So nothing like super crazy, but it is a fun fight regardless. Once you finish him off, though, and the rest of the final wave, then you can get some pretty nice rewards. So first off, with the experience, you can get around 2 million, which is just huge, and then about 40,000 raw Maseta, which is pretty nice. But getting to the actual items, you can get rocks weapons to drop, which seem actually pretty common for this quest. You can get Setchitals, you can actually get the Vardy Souls, which we mentioned before as a guaranteed, which shows as 25 HP and 2.25% potency. So almost like an Errati Soul, but more for HP. Of course, a whole bunch of Resurgers. You can get all of the different Strugments, a whole bunch of different souls and capsules for the things that you kill in here, and even Icicle Orbs. But then for the super rare items for this quest, you can get the Rugged Weapon series for any of those. I'm not exactly sure if it has an increased chance in here versus everything else or not, but there's also the Khazar Almaty weapon camo, and even an Almaty color variant of the Khazar 2, which is like a black, gray, white kind of color instead of the cyan or blue from before. But that is all I have on this urgent quest. In my opinion, this is better than the previous two mining rigs, but at the same time, it is a mining rig, so it can be good or bad depending on the players that you are with. But let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so for more NGS content. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.